Henry Cejudo, Bo Nickal. How do these guys tie in? Now, I'm really encouraging you guys, really strongly encouraging you to follow Bo's career. I think you'll be glad that you did, right? There's jerks out there. There's guys that will let you down. I'm really confident in telling you, go, this guy won't. This is the right guy. This is the right human being. It's one of the few guys that you'll ever see in a Saturday night in a steel cage that you wouldn't mind if your son was like. But that's a real thing. I know that these are our heroes and we love these guys, but there's things in people's lives that lead them into this line of work. Encourage you to get behind Bo. But hold the thought on Bo back up to Henry. I don't know what Henry wants to do, guys. So from a very personal standpoint, I spent last weekend with Henry. I asked him as directly as you could possibly ask him. And he had some ideas. Sure, he had Aljo. He commented that he believes where he personally has to sit within the USADA and some of the regulations that a fight between Aljo and Dillashaw is going to be made. So before he ties his horse to Aljo, he kind of needs to keep it open because it might likely be the winner of one of those two. Made it extremely clear, as he has for you guys, no surprise, Volkanovski is his number one wish. And talked about Max Holloway. So Henry was looking. Henry was interested, but he was not absolutely dead set. And it's a little bit of a hard position for Henry to be that way when you're looking at two divisions and you also don't have a date. So fair enough, but this is where Henry was. Now, Henry made news 4 days ago by talking about what it would take to beat Jon Jones, who he's currently training. And I'm here to ask you, is Henry going to be a better fighter now that he's a coach? Most coaches that you meet, this could be any walk of life, be a basketball player, but they will tell you that their understanding of the game, their strategies at a technical standpoint, goes up 25% as soon as they start coaching, as soon as they have to articulate it and teach it to somebody else. But it's very hard to coach and compete. Very hard. You're not going to find me a lot of examples. Even within college, there are coaches in sport. We'll use wrestling, sport that's got Olympic aspirations. The guys that are on the coaching staff for colleges are paid. They're put in a position. They're good for the recruit to go, oh, wow, I know who that is. But they're just in there to train. You almost have to have it that way. If you're coaching and you're selfless, or if you're training and you're selfish, it's very hard to combine the two. So I don't know what Henry's going to do. I think it is relevant that Henry is going down that new path. Now, Henry's got Captain E with him. Captain E will rein him in. He will cut his coaching schedule and he will tell him what to do. Henry will have that level of discipline. I firmly believe that. But will the fellow athletes in the room, who are knowing him as Coach Henry, be able to set that 8 to 10 weeks aside and look him as teammate Henry? Because if they start grabbing him, they start pulling him in directions, they start taking away from his focus and his traits. It's an interesting thing. I don't have the answer for it. Might get best of both worlds. Perhaps Henry also took that 25% step up in understanding of the sport, the techniques, and the strategies, and could also have the focus and discipline training. But I tie that in with Bo Nickal. Bo, I believe, owns a gym. Now, I can't confirm that I haven't been there, but somewhere along the way, I was told a version of the story that I believed to be true, that ATT came to State College, where Bo has lived and trained and was a huge star for Penn State. Bo is as good of a collegiate athlete as there has ever been. Any sport. Give a goddamn a guy won a Heisman. Bo Nickal is as good of a collegiate athlete as anybody that's ever done it. Penn State's as good of a program as there's ever been. You want to talk about a room full of tough guys. Story that I was told, don't know the accuracy, is ATT set up shop. They gave Bo the gym. It's an ATT gym. They put their name on it. They helped to fund it, but it's Bo's. Right there in State College, with the idea being that Bo can grab the Penn State guys when they graduate, come up with this new hotbed. That's what I was told. I believed it to be true. I never thought to look into it, but I know that Bo does a lot of his training at the main ATT gym in Coconut Creek. And I think Bo's introduction to the sport, at least the first thing that I ever saw, came through being a training partner of George Masvidal. Masvidal's getting ready to take on a wrestler. The wrestler's named Colby Covington. Boom, bring in a great wrestler. Insert Bo Nickal. It's relevant if the rumor's true that Bo owns the gym. It's very relevant because Bo is doing some of his better training out in Coconut Creek, and that's according to Bo. It's an experience factor. Said, my gym, we're all very green. He included himself. He's only done amateur fights, decided to take the next step to go pro. He's very aware. He's very measured with his approach to the sport. Which, if you were to go back 20 years and you take one of the great collegiate athletes of all time who happens to be from the field of wrestling, you put him into MMA, he's going to be the champion within 2 fights. It's not a commentary on Bo. It's a compliment to where our sport is. It is not a matter of a specialist, right? It used to be, but the sport has really grown. Good for MMA. Now, I bring it to you because if Bo is getting his better training at Coconut Creek, why in the hell is he not just living in Coconut Creek? And I was having this conversation with Ryan off camera. We were going back for about 20 minutes before we fired this thing up. I've seen the strategy that Bo is doing work beautifully for athletes. And Bo, his entire life, has had 3 things. Guys within the same room that can kick his ass. Guys that can push him. And guys he can whip. One you can learn from. One you can push conditioning and grit and mental toughness with. And one you got to have so that you can actually go through the motions of the techniques and you can score some points and start to learn positions. You got to have all 3. So if Bo is at a gym, if he does own the gym, he can't leave the gym. That's my entire point that I'm trying to make for you guys. If you're wondering why Bo, because Ryan was, why is Bo not just going to Coconut? Why is he doing stints in Coconut Creek and then coming back? Well, if he owns the gym, that's what he has to do. And by the way, I've seen this work. I have seen guys work out at Kids Club. Got a guy, Travis West, right here in Portland. Came into the Kids Club. I was a 7th grader when Travis was 26 years old. He was working out with me. And other me's. He's working out with kids. But once every 2 weeks, he would go to Colorado Springs to the Olympic Training Center. That's where he would bone up. That's where he would sharpen. That's where he would get technique. He would come back on us, who could not stop him, and he would really perfect technique. He was getting ready for the 1992 Olympic trials. Spoiler alert, he made the Olympic team. It worked. So there is something very effective, historically speaking, about what Bo is doing. Get in a room where you're teaching. Get in a room where the things that you're envisioning, the things that you want to do, you can have success with. Get in another room where it's not quite as easy, where the student becomes the teacher. So it's just one of these processes. We're seeing a couple of guys. If that rumor on Bo is true and he owns the gym, he's largely in the same spot as Henry, where he's going to be in charge of training, infrastructure, scheduling for a lot of other people, but then he's got to get his own stuff in. It's an interesting spot. We're seeing it working more and more. Davison Figueiredo right now is doing it. Uriah Faber has done it from Jump Street. Mark Munoz did it throughout his career. Amanda Nunes just set out and is going to do it, and that's going to be tested for the first time when she gets in there with the rematch against Juliana Pena. So it's different. It's not what Bo is used to. Not certain he does own the gym. I think he does, though. I was told that. I believe it. Be very smart for ATT to come into State College. So I believe it. Made sense. I'm not against the idea that the gym that he's pushing and learning and growing from, he's only in part-time. I'm not against that. As long as he's in the practice room full-time.